Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cocktails and Vinyl. Joining tonight is Sean. Hey, Sean.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
doing okay.
Good.
One
Good.
second. I just want to make sure everything is paused and muted appropriately.
Doing
Nope. There we go. All right, now we're good. Okay, cool.
All right. Yeah. Sean, it's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, you too. Halfway through the week, for me anyway. That's always a good thing.
When does the week begin? When does the weekend?
Yeah, for you especially, right?
Yeah. Hello, Stephen. How are you doing tonight? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Steven.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. We were just talking about the Xavier.
Cougat.
Xavier. What's his last name?
Cougat.
Look at you. Yeah, and talking about his music, and I really like his stuff.
Is it like 50s like orchestra type stuff or?
It is, but his rhythms are really cool. You know, when you think
Okay.
about "I Love Lucy,"
Uh-huh.
and they emphasize and exaggerated his drumming.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
And then
Right.
and they it's like Xavier was like that also. Cougar.
Cool.
Yeah. Now Marion probably saw Xavier. Oh, she did.
Oh, with Carmen
He
Miranda.
did.
Wow. That's
He did.
cool.
Not everything, not all the time, yeah. But Marion, hey, how are you joining? Thanks for joining us, Marion. She probably saw him because I think he was on Capitol Records, and there was a time that Marion's husband was an executive for Capitol Records.
No kidding. Yeah, that's cool.
I always like hearing those stories. But
Oh, yeah.
Marion, it has gotten cold again here in North Carolina.
Yeah, Mother Nature teased us over the weekend. Sunday it was like 76, and then bam, right back down into the 40s.
Yeah. Hello, Jerry. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday to you, sir. Yeah.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah. So anyway, I like his music, and it's overlooked. Hallelujah.
Oh, somebody just made a sale on eBay.
Hallelujah. I need it so much, folks. I need that $7.89.
Hey, man, that's $7.89 you didn't have 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we overlook his stuff because it's so. He didn't have the name that a lot of people did, and sometimes big band and orchestra music is not as popular or trendy today.
Right. Yeah.
We had a terrible dust storm today, and I had to drive home, and I could barely see, and it's getting cooler. I've never been in a dust storm. Of course, I've been on the farm. I grew up on the farm, folks, and we would plow the fields, and dust would just be blowing, but it wasn't a dust storm. But
yeah, dust storms are no fun to drive in. Been there, done that.
I think about that a lot. I'm thinking about, so it's early March. What would we be doing on the farm right now? And I'm sure we would be checking the beds. You would create beds, and I mean football field size beds, and plant the seeds and watch the plants grow, and they'll be covered with plastic. And anyway,
yeah, I noticed where I'm at, I'm right on the edge of town, so there's still a lot of vacant land that gets farmed out here. And they rotate their crops. This year I think they're due to plant tobacco again, and so I've seen them out fertilizing the fields and stuff, getting it all ready for planting tobacco.
Hey Amber, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, Amber,
thanks for joining us. I was thinking about Amber. We talk a lot about 60s pop, some psych, and some the Beatles, British Invasion stuff. So
I've got a little bit of that in my stack tonight.
Oh, good. And I was thinking about Amber this afternoon and how I need to continue working up in Wake Forest. But Amber, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. So, folks, we're just hanging out. I didn't bring anything.
I did.
Except for some kombucha.
There you go. Did you let it sit for a little while so it could start to ferment?
It's already fermented. Sometimes I can, if I open a bottle in the morning and have it throughout the day, the last swig of the day is like, whoa. Yeah. Hey, here's Art.
Hey, congrats, Art.
Hey guys, how's everyone? We bought a home in Canali Springs.
I don't know where Connolly Springs is.
3.5 acres.
That's good chunk of land.
Next month. Did some crate digging the last couple of days. That's awesome. Hey, good evening, Kurt. How are you? Get out the skip.
Oh, come on, Kurt. I don't know. I actually kind of like it out here in Fuquay Arena. It's it's still growing, but I'm hopeful that it's far enough out that it won't become Cary or Morrisville. So we shall see. Adam.
So growing up, I had an uncle that lived in Cary, and we would visit him. And it seemed like forever before we got there. And once we got there, it was like there wasn't as much in Cary to do. And so,
yeah.
Well, congratulations, Art. I'm looking forward to you being 1 mile closer to RecordKrate and making it happen. So looking forward to that. So you're gonna share with us some 60s pop?
I got a bunch of I was just gonna go through just some stuff that's come in recently, some stuff I got from you, some other stuff. So I mean, anybody that's watched my stuff knows I have, fairly rarer stuff in my collection, but of course I'm certainly not above the bargain bins, and you came through on the bargain bins several times recently, Adam.
I got the best bargain bins in the world, folks.
Dude, this Westworld Rockulator, man, this was the best $3 I've spent on vinyl in a long, long time. This is the most 80s thing I have ever heard in all the right ways.
Wow.
It's just poppy and fun, and yeah.
Is it like spin me round, you spin me round?
Oh, no. Way more bubblegummy than that.
Like what? Give me an example. What's an 80s bubblegum to you?
Think a slightly happier version of Bananarama.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be great, Art. I probably won't be able to travel up there but once a year, but we can make it happen for you to run it. How about that?
So,
hey, Brooke, how are you?
Hey, Brooke. All right. So this is another $3 find from you that shocked me at how good it was. It's Parthenon Huxley, Sunny Nights. I actually had no idea who Parthenon Huxley was, but apparently his solo records are loved by a fair number of people. And he was involved in an offshoot of ELO that was started by one of the other members after that first nasty, acrimonious thing with Jeff Lynne. But this is just a really solid rock record. I mean, it's nothing fancy, probably nothing's going to blow you away, but I mean, that's
what'd you think of Buddha Buddha?
What's that?
What'd you think of Buddha Buddha?
That one, I'm trying to think. I don't know that I remember it specifically by name, but
Buddha Buddha. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, this definitely makes me want to check out some of his other stuff because I really enjoyed this.
36 MGRAC. 36 MGPAC. Is that your favorite rap band, Marion? we were talking kidney stone stuff. Oh, I didn't know that, Kurt.
Yeah, I
Westworld.
didn't know that either, Kurt, because, man, that is, I mean, pop to the core.
Skinny pop. But anyway, Parthenon. He's doing that. It's called the Orchestra. He was also in a band called the Blazers, and he also had a project called Rick Rock, which
Oh,
was
okay.
very electronic-y oriented.
Yeah, he's completely new to me, but based on Sunny Nights, I'm in. That's good stuff.
I think I have a copy of that record. However, I think I'm sorry. I think I have a copy of the record you have.
Oh, okay.
But I think this is probably his best effort.
707. This is good rock and roll, man. This is on Casablanca, and like Kiss was, but also like Donna Summer was. So I bought this purely because I like the cover art. I didn't know if it was going to be rock or disco, but it's rock. And, again, nothing standoutish about it. It's a great record, but there's nothing, that really marks it as their own, which is probably why it wasn't terribly commercially successful. But this is a great listen. I mean, if you find this anywhere, pick it up.
Is it heavier? Is it hard rock?
I wouldn't necessarily call it hard rock, but I mean, it's very up tempo and very kind of I mean, I don't know that I would say it's like Kiss hard rock, no. But yeah, I mean, it's very up tempo and snappy. There's nothing. I don't think there are any like slowed down acoustic type songs or anything. It's all just straight electric rock.
Okay, that's good to hear. Very cool. Yeah.
And last one, at least from the rock, or no, I'm sorry. No, a few others that I still got from you. So this one, I don't find these very often at all. Queen's The Game. And the few copies of this that I have found have generally been partied on pretty hard, but this one was nice and clean. And I really like this album. I wouldn't say it's, one of Queen's best, but it's one that I particularly enjoy.
It is. This it's kind of mellow in a bit.
A little bit, yeah. And I mean, Another One Bites the Dust, I think, was the really huge hit on this. I don't know that, I think there were a couple other minor hits on this, but I think Another One Bites the Dust was probably.
What are the titles of that record?
So this one has on side one, it's got Play the Game, Dragon Attack, Another One Bites the Dust, Need Your Lovin' Tonight, and Crazy Little Thing. Oh, Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Duh. The song that I think everybody thought Elvis did originally, only Freddie Mercury actually wrote that song. And then on side two, it's got Rocket, Don't Try Suicide. That song is up. If you listen, I mean, wow. But anyway, yeah, Don't Try Suicide, Sail Away Sweet Sister, Coming Soon, and Save Me.
I like Play the Game and Sail Away Sweet Sister.
I like Sail Away Sweet Sister and Play the Game as well. Yeah, those are both good.
Sweet Sister kind of reminds me a little bit of
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah. Jerry loves a big kiss.
Another one that's really hard to find clean on vinyl these days, if you're looking for an original that you came through on for me, was Tres Hombres. This album is so good, man. Anybody that likes blues, if you've never heard this, I'm sure a lot of most of the generation older than me obviously probably knows every single word of this album, but anybody younger than me that's watching, you haven't heard this, you need to listen to this. This is essential 70s, it's essential ZZ Top, it's essential blues rock.
There you go. It's different than 80s ZZ Top.
Oh yeah, very much so. I actually like those 80s records too. I love Afterburner and Eliminator. I think Planet of Women is probably in my top 3 favorite ZZ Top songs, if I'm being perfectly honest.
TV Dinners is one of my more memorable music videos from the 80s.
I love that one. I don't know that I've ever seen the video, but I love that song. And then for a trifecta of you don't find these often, and when you do, they're usually partied on hard. From you, nice clean copy of Badfinger's "Wish You Were Here." These you never find these, man.
Yeah, that's a pretty rare one to find.
It's a great record too.
Weird rock, absolutely, yeah. It is a good record. It's a lot different than the one that had "No Matter What You Are" song on it.
Yeah.
Straight Shooter, is that the name of it? I don't know.
Why did I think that song was on Ass? I could have been wrong. I could be wrong. Yeah. Yes, for anybody that doesn't know, Badfinger has an album called Ass, ASS, and it's got a giant picture of a donkey on it. So this was a nice find recently. I've been looking for a clean one of these for a long time. Fleetwood Mac's Penguin. You know, I feel like the Bob Welch era of Fleetwood Mac doesn't get nearly as much love as it deserves. And I feel like in hindsight, when you look at the history of Fleetwood Mac and when you listen to people go, yeah, I love this part of Fleetwood Mac and I like this part of Fleetwood Mac. The period of time between Peter Green and Buckingham Nicks seems these days to like form this lost period of Fleetwood Mac that everybody just seems to kind of forget about. But you know, if we're talking albums, I think my favorite Fleetwood Mac album of all time is probably Mystery to Me with Bob Welch. That album just does it for me, man. Now, if we're talking individual singles, I think my favorite Fleetwood Mac song of any album across any era is Gypsy. I think that's one of the greatest songs Stevie Nicks ever wrote, personally.
I'm a person who enjoys listening to Christine McVie's voice. I love her voice.
And that's another reason I love Mystery to Me so much. The songs that Christine McVie sings on that album are fantastic too. Her voice sounds so good on all the songs on that record.
Her first solo record was a blues record.
Really? I've never heard it.
And there was another cat, Peter Green, who had a more bluesy side of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. I like the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac records. Those are all great. So another one I was fairly excited to find. This came out in 1987, which automatically means vinyl copies are on the harder side to find. And this one is as clean as you're going to find it. This, oh man, I was so happy to find this. But yeah, Rush's "Hold Your Fire." It's good stuff. You know, it's very 80s. Honestly, I'm one of those guys. Some might rake me over the coals for this, but I'm one of those guys that likes 80s Rush more than 70s.
I like Synthesizer Rush, and I saw Rush once, and it was that tour.
Was that a good show?
Yes, it was. I think it was before I saw Pink Floyd.
Oh, really?
In the back of the auditorium, there was a speaker, and then there were speakers, if I remember correctly, down the side of the auditorium and up to the front. And there was a period where it happened a few times where the synthesizer traveled from the back to the front, and the sound just raced past you, and it was really cool. Nice.
You know, so I was in high school when Pink Floyd did the Division Bell tour, 94, 95. And that would have been my sophomore year of high school. And I had a friend that had tickets to go and see one of the 5 sold out shows at the Oakland Coliseum on that tour. And my parents wouldn't let me go because it was a school night and Oakland was 3 hours away. I still don't think I've forgiven them for that. But so this was an interesting find, and I don't know that I'll ever know the answer to this. But so, you know, for anybody that knows much about metal, you know, there are 4 thrash bands that are considered the big 4, which would be Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, and Megadeth. If you were to expand that out into, say, the big 8, right, you would probably add Exodus and Testament and Overkill and this band, Death Angel. And this is their third album and their major label debut from 1990. And Death Angel was a lot like Exodus and Testament. You know, I think they weren't quite as hard as Slayer. They weren't quite as brutal lyrically as Slayer. But anyway, on this, you can see there are some signatures. And I did some looking around and at some other like verified signed Death Angel stuff. And it looks like this might be signed by the band. I don't know that for sure, and I probably don't care enough to pay someone to authenticate it, but it's still kind of cool.
I feel it is, and I feel it's a promotional item.
It very well could be.
Most people, when they go see a band, they carry a Sharpie with them.
Oh,
a
yeah.
Black one.
Yep.
And most band members will have a black Sharpie. I think that was a promotional autograph thing.
It could well have been. Yeah, that wouldn't shock me. If you like thrash, though, and you've never heard that album, I highly recommend it. It's Death Angel Act 3. That's what this is called. Excellent album. So, you know, in the 80s, big indie metal label, Metal Blade. Metal Blade had a couple of oddball things in their discography over time. And I was last week years old when I discovered that UFO, of all bands, put out an EP on Metal Blade in the late 80s.
Ooh.
I had no idea. And this was kind of cool because on the back, they talk about the reason that they made this EP, and the reason that they made it's called Ain't Misbehaving. The reason they made it was they got kind of tired of all of the really nice, Kurt, nice. I don't know that I've ever heard the first one. I've definitely heard the second one, but I don't think I've ever heard the first one. But anyway, so UFO made this EP because they got tired of all of the thick 80s production that they were being forced into and everything, and they wanted to do something back to basics. And if you listen to any of UFO's albums from like, you know, the late 70s into the very, very early 80s, this is a return to that sound. So I really, really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I was really surprised by this. This is a great EP. It really is.
Ron turned me on to UFO. I mean, I've seen UFO stuff.
Oh, they're a great band. I love UFO.
But one day
I'm not necessarily a fan of how all their how a bunch of their album covers were censored, including this one in the United States. But
I got a VHS in, and I got several VHS in. They were on the counter in Wake Forest, and Ron said, "Ooh, UFO." I said, "You like UFO?" He said, "Yeah." And so while Ron was shopping, I went and popped it on. Next thing I know, Ron's just standing there, and then I'm not far away from him, and I was like, "These guys are cool." Darn it, he bought the VHS. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Brooke. See you next time.
See you soon.
So yeah.
So this was a fun find. This is more recent stuff. This came out about 10 years ago. When this came out, I streamed the crap out of this record. This is a group called Ladytron, and it's like modern day synth pop, basically, but it's atmospheric and it's a little dark, and it's very, very good. But this album's called Gravity the Seducer. And like I said, when this came out in 2011, I streamed the crap out of this. And this, I had no idea that it was available on vinyl till I found this, but there were 2,000 copies, individually numbered, hand numbered. You can see this one's number 352 of 2,000. And a random 500 of these 2,000 copies were pressed on clear vinyl, and this is one of them. So that was kind of cool too. I'm not one of those guys that goes and, oh, cool, Kurt, nice, somebody else who knows who Ladytron is, awesome. But you know, I'm not one of those guys that'll go out actively hunting for colored vinyl. But you know, if I find it and it's there and it's what I can get, I'll take it. So yeah.
I think I have Ladytron in my library. I have to check and see what color vinyl it is. Most likely black. Yeah. Art said I saw the Division Bell show in Tampa. sat all the way across from them on next to the top row, and all the weed was blowing out.
Oh, Art, I bet you could get baked standing at the door at that show.
It was my favorite show of a lifetime, so I feel your continued pain.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
And listening to Pulse just made me want to be there more. I mean, I know Pulse, it's been said that Pulse was doctored a little bit, or maybe more than a little bit, in the studio, but yeah.
When you take away Guy Pratt's part and replace it with someone else.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we talked about that once. So here was a cool one, and this is a generational thing, but you will find people my age, early 40s, that will tell you that this is not only their favorite Aerosmith album, but for our generation, this was our Aerosmith album. This was not pressed on vinyl originally in 1993 in the US, but this is a European copy that from 1993 of Get a Grip. This album for kids my age was a lot of our introduction to Aerosmith through all the videos on MTV, through Living on the Edge and Crying and Crazy. This album was everywhere in 1993 when this came out. So I'm very, very happy to have a copy of this on vinyl now, because I've wanted one of these for a long time. And it sounds great. It's actually manufactured in Holland for the EU. So it was pressed in Holland, but it was sold throughout the EU. And so,
when do we get the EU? Do you know what year it was pressed?
1993.
Okay.
Speaking of other albums from that time period, Kurt knows. So speaking of albums from that same time period that were never pressed on vinyl in the US originally, but were pressed in Europe. Yeah, right. And for a lot of people, I think that's what it was too, Art. But, for my generation, it was Permanent Vacation and Pump and Get a Grip. Those were the Aerosmith albums that introduced an entire new generation of kids to Aerosmith.
Was that the sober Aerosmith, Pump, Get a Grip?
Permanent Vacation, Pump, and Get a Grip.
Was that sober Aerosmith?
Yes, that was sober Aerosmith. That was, they quit drinking and drugs, got on MTV, and got focused. Yeah. Done with Mirrors, I think, kind of started that, but Done with Mirrors wasn't super commercially successful, even though I think it's a pretty good album.
So I remember when Done with Mirrors came out, and it seems like there was a gap between Toys and Attic and Done with Mirrors, and because on the radio I used to say, hey, it's been so many years and there's a new record. There was also, so KNC was, during the daytime they were heavy metal, and at nighttime they were a lot of hip hop. But do you recall ever hearing of a band called Perennial?
Yeah, sure. I don't know much of their stuff, but I've heard of them. Yeah,
I like Perennial. They were on the radio. Cheers.
So, speaking of, sorry, I was just reading Art's comment.
Yes, they were. They did a wonderful job. I love that movie. I love that movie.
So vinyl from that time period, early 90s, that was never pressed in the US originally on vinyl, but was pressed in Europe. Here's a nice original copy of Weezer's Blue Album. And the UK pressings, the first ones, used the wrong cover art. This might look like the right cover art, but you'll notice it's a full body shot. You can see their feet. Look at the cover art for any of the CDs that you have or anything online. You'll notice that the cover art, it was all cut off kind of at the ankles. And so you couldn't see their feet. So this is a full body shot.
Okay. So
I thought that was kind of neat that they used they didn't use the right crop of the photo. But, this was such a popular album back in those days. And I mean, it's aged so well. And this album is 27 years. God, this album's 27 years old.
You're so right.
1994.
I'm going to share the screen so I can let everyone else see. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, are you going to share the regular cover art?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Oh, okay. I'll hold this up then for comparison. Okay. Yeah. And that's the standard cover art where you can't see their feet. So I thought that was kind of cool.
What's the story? Have you heard the story?
I don't know, because I know that at some point the cover was pulled, and there are UK pressings from 94 that have the right version of the photo with the feet not visible. So I don't know what the story is with this. I know it's not a bootleg, though. It is legit. So yeah, who knows? It's probably just, somebody got sent the wrong photo, or, they were told, here, use this photo, crop it at this, and they didn't do it, or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
crazy.
Yeah. Okay, 60s pop. So I feel like these aren't terribly hard to find, but they're not easy to find clean. Usually these were pretty partied on. So I got lucky and came into a bunch of Yardbirds stuff recently, original stereo US copies. I know some people prefer the UK albums. I honestly don't have a preference. I think the US versions are fine, but got a nice copy of Rave Up. Real nice. It's fake stereo, but that's okay. Rave Up, Over Under Sideways Down. This is probably my favorite US Yardbirds record. And also their sort of foray into psychedelia, Little Games. This one, I think I like it, but I don't love it. I probably need to spend a little more time with it, because generally I like psych, but this one was, oh, see you later, Kurt.
Have fun. Thanks for stopping by.
And if the albums don't do it for you, nice mono copy of the Yardbirds' greatest hits. So, I know the Yardbirds were kind of a hard blues band, but it's still, there's plenty of pop element in that. And what a band to have, your three lead guitarists over the course of your band be Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page. Unbelievable.
What can you say? Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting, and I'm sure some know this, right, is that when Chris Dreja left, he was the last founding member of the Yardbirds, and when he left the band, Jimmy Page was left with some touring obligations, and so he was given the rights to use the Yardbirds name to finish a tour of Sweden, and he put together a band of the Yardbirds that featured other such bums as John Paul Jones on bass and Robert Plant on vocals and John Bonham on drums. And then after they went and toured as the Yardbirds, they went into the studio to record an album, and they were going to release it under the name of the New Yardbirds. But of course, Chris Dreja had a fit, because he said, I only gave you the rights to use the name Yardbirds to finish that tour. So they changed their name to Led Zeppelin, and the rest is history.
Where did Terry come in?
What's that?
Terry.
The
guy that everyone says, this was the guy that turned down the job to be the singer for Led Zeppelin.
Oh, I don't know. He must have auditioned when they were looking for a job to, or when they were looking to fill out a band to finish that Yardbirds tour. That would be my guess. Because Robert Plant did the vocals for that Yardbirds tour. And interesting factoid, if you look on the back of Led Zeppelin 1, the band photo that's on the back, Chris Dreja of the Yardbirds is the one that's credited with taking that photo.
Are there live recordings of the last Yardbirds tour that featured those guys?
Good question. I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but I'd love to hear that if it's out there.
Okay. Me too.
All right. So still got a few minutes here. So how about some jazz that I got from you recently? And I'm gonna save the best for last.
It's hard
Adam,
to do when it's all good.
what's that?
It's hard to do when they're all good.
I know, right? No,
Yeah.
this one's definitely the best for last. But
Thank you.
Terry Reed. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Terry Reed.
Yeah.
Do you know the story?
He must have auditioned when they were looking for a singer to do that Yardbirds tour.
Yeah, I don't know the story. I should research that. But Terry Reed has some good records.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So, Adam, this completely blew me away. I'm really glad that you found this. This Ramsey Lewis trio stretching out. You know, Ramsey Lewis takes a lot of crap because he was one of those guys that sort of preferred popularity to art. And so he chased trends, which, of course, when you're dealing with art clicks like jazz, popularity is poison. So I think that's the reason why a lot of people like to crap all over Ramsey Lewis. But that man had so much talent, and especially his early trio recordings, and also a lot of the jazz funk stuff that he did in the 70s is just amazing.
People ask me all the time, will you let me know when this record comes in? If you get this record, will you let me know? And it's hard to remember that stuff. I can't write a book because I can't get a notebook and write down everything. But
right, of course,
people that come on a regular basis and we talk and stuff like that. And I knew that you were looking at records, so when a copy came in, I just happened to remember, and I said, "Hey!" So there we go.
So this is a great ECM title that I got from you. I mean, to say I was blown away by this was an understatement. This album, this is Jan Garbarek. The album is called Places. And this has Jack DeJohnette on drums and John Taylor on piano and Bill Connors on guitar. And Jan Garbarek plays sax, and his tone is so dark and moody on this. I mean, think of a dark version of Gato Barbieri, that type of tone, but played like you feel like you're walking down a New York City back alley at night. Like it's ridiculous how good this album is. And Bill Connors' guitar just lends that perfect complement to that dark tone of Garbarek's saxophone.
Amen.
No, you're probably right. ECM was like the Blue Note of the 70s. I mean, their artist repertoire, their albums, they're just all fantastic. ECM is one of the best kept secrets among jazz aficionados, because I feel like a lot of the casual jazz folks don't ever really get around to ECM, and they totally should. There's so much good stuff on that label.
I think if ECM had unique album covers, rather than there's so many of them that looks like it's the same format, just replace the picture, replace the text, and replace the color.
Yeah,
I think if they had done more creative stuff, and I respect their form, I respect that, but I think if it would have stood out a little more.
And ECM still exists to this day. They're still an independent record label. They have distribution through Universal, but they're still around. And I mean, even some of their modern artists are really, really great.
There you go.
Yeah, Pat Metheny's ECM albums are great. Chick Corea had some great ECM albums as well, especially Arc. Here's another killer one. Speaking of guitar, I grabbed from you, Adam. Barney Kessel's To Swing or Not to Swing. Barney Kessel was a great West Coast guy, and I wouldn't say he was on the same level as maybe Kenny Burrell, but Barney Kessel had chops. This guy was great. And then this one completely slapped me upside the head. This Charles Lloyd at Monterey.
This
cool. Came out in '67. This was recorded, I believe, in 1966 at the Monterey Jazz Festival in California. Mm-hmm. And Charles Lloyd brought his A+ game to this. This is an amazing recording.
Yeah. That is a nice one. Real quick, I'm at the Yardbirds Wikipedia page trying to get information. I totally forgot about Boxer Frogs. Have you heard of Boxer Frogs?
Yeah, I've never heard the music, but yes, I know the connection.
Yeah, I like boxer prog. They're a little, just a slight edge of prog, but I like them.
Sure, good stuff. So recently, a friend of mine hooked me up with two Blue Note albums where I've had 70s reissues, but they were not pressed with the Van Gelder stamps. Or with the Van Gelder stampers. And so he gave me two Blue Notes that I got to hear the Van Gelder cut for the very first time, both from the mid 60s. One is Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage. Probably one of the best Blue Note albums of that time period of the mid 60s. This album is a perfect 10 top to bottom. Oh man, Ron, Sonny Stitt, Low Flame. I've got a copy of that. That record is so good for when you're just feeling chill and you're done with the night and you just want one to just kind of simmer down and go to bed. Oh, dude, I love Low Flame.
Hey, Ron.
The other Blue Note from that time period that I'd never heard a Van Gelder cut of that I finally got the opportunity to do was this one, Joe Henderson's 1966 epic Mode for Joe. This album has to be heard to be believed. So, and then let's see. Today, I drove 2.5 hours to go get one record. And I ended up with a few more because I went to go visit a friend of mine in town, and he let me go through his dupe pile, and I have to find some records to trade him back. But I'm going to go through the ones I got from his dupe pile first, and then I'll get to the best for last. So this is the last of the ones I've got. There are 4 here. So this one I got out of his dupe pile. Babyface Willet, Stop and Listen. This is good soul jazz. Babyface Willet played one hell of an organ, man. So this is I'm really looking forward to diving into this. I haven't played it yet. I've heard the album. I just haven't played this particular copy yet, but it's all cleaned and ready to go. So another one from the Prestige sub-label New Jazz. Benny Golson's Getting With It. Really looking forward to this. I've heard this one a few times. Never heard this copy yet. It's all cleaned, ready to play. So looking forward to diving in. All right. Last one from the Duke pile. Steve Lacy, Evidence with Don Cherry. Don Cherry was a bit of an innovator, more than a bit of an innovator with jazz, but Don Cherry is more known for his free jazz type stuff. But this is more, kind of middle of the road. And Steve Lacy played soprano sax, which was actually not very common in jazz in the 50s and early 60s. Soprano sax didn't really come into play until the late 70s, when smooth jazz really started to kind of come about and get popular, because a lot of that is soprano. But in these days, this came out in 61, and in these days, soprano sax was not common in jazz at all. Steve Lacy was one of the few guys that was doing it. All right, best for last. I have been looking for an original play copy of this for literally years, and finally scored it. Sonny Rollins Saxophone Colossus. This is one of the all-time great jazz albums. This is Sonny's quartet. It's got Sonny on tenor, Tommy Flanagan on piano, Max Roach on drums, Doug Watkins on bass. This came out in 1956, and even to this day, if somebody came to me and said, I have never heard jazz before, play me jazz, this is one of the records I would play for him. This is a seminal jazz album. So could not be happier to finally have a copy of this. And that one I have play tested. So it sounds very good. Plays very good plus. So I was very happy with that.
I'd like us to visit that. You're talking about play copy. I've cleaned something that's ready to go. I shared with you a video about this cat who makes a formula. And I like to visit that one day and maybe even make our own. Everybody else can make their own little batch, and let's see how far we can get with it and see if it really makes a big difference.
I would like to try it. I'm going to have to find that X100 or whatever it was that he used, in that
Or
video.
Yeah.
That or they use the Kodak Kodachrome stuff.
The Kodak stuff that's represented or suggested is it allows it to dry faster.
Right, exactly.
But it's very
Ron,
not a good chemical to have.
Ron, it's interesting that you mentioned Sidney Bechet. Sidney Bechet, I've always really respected him because of the number of jazz musicians of the 50s and 60s, especially, that held him in such a high regard. I find, though, I admit I haven't listened to a lot of his later recordings, so maybe those are a little different. But the recordings of his that I have heard from like the 40s and the early 50s, a little bit too much vibrato for me. I'm not a huge fan of that style that was so popular in the 40s and the early 50s of, just vibrato every single time. It's like, it just didn't really work for me. But I may have to check out some of his later stuff because, if he sort of toned it down on the vibrato, I'd probably really enjoy it.
I'll share a little bit more about that cleaning solution. This guy has a wonderful video. He explains it very well.
Yeah, I know, Ron.
And he mixes up a concoction and he lets it ferment, and it takes like 4 weeks before it happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, Triton X100. That's the stuff. What Elliot was just saying there. That's the stuff.
Okay.
A gallon of it.
Well, Elliot, when you come up, bring me a pint of it, Elliot. I don't think you need much.
No, it doesn't take much at all. God, a gallon would probably last you a lifetime if you were making that stuff.
Yeah, if you can spare it, Elliot. If you can drive it in your automobile without it exploding or blowing up east side of Raleigh or something. Elliot, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I think Elliot was sharing that he had gotten on his social media. He was sharing he got the vaccine. So good for you.
Oh, congrats! That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm looking forward to being able to get one of those myself. Yeah, absolutely, Ron. That was definitely New Orleans style, and that stuff. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, right? Especially these days. But yeah.
Oh, now I'm thinking, what is it? Anyway, there we go. Sean, hey everybody, thanks for coming out and hanging out. I appreciate it a bunch. I was invoicing before I went on. I'm going to do some more invoicing and get things ready. Ron, I just packed your stuff, heading up to Wake Forest tomorrow. Kurt, you're gone, but I packed your stuff ready to head to Wake Forest, and I got to pack some more stuff. And
Adam, I'll see you Friday to get my stuff. I'll come to Raleigh and get my stuff. So.
And I got to pack Sean's stuff. Yeah. Everybody have a good night. Sean, thanks for sharing your stuff with us, and looking forward to hanging out next time, everybody.
You got it.
All right, see you.